On the news, Edo State Governor Godwin Obaseki defects to the PDP. Nigeria marks historic day as WHO declares her polio-free. And Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 warns that the virus could get worse this rainy season. Many thanks for joining us on News Now on TV360 Nigeria. I am Annetta Felix. Edo State Governor Godwin Obaseki has formally joined the People's Democratic Party. This comes after his recent resignation from the All Progressives Congress over his disqualification from contesting for the Edo APC governorship primaries. Obaseki was received by the leadership of the party, led by the state chairman of the PDP, Honorable Tony Aziegbemi. He arrived to the state secretariat of the PDP along First East Circular Road with many of his followers and appointees. Recall that Aziegbemi had said the Edo State governor and the entire APC structure in Edo State will be joining the PDP.
Within the state and across the country, to become a member of PDP. Yeah!
Still on Edo State politics, the State High Court in Port Harcourt, Rivers State, has declared that Victor Giadom, former Deputy National Secretary of the All Progressives Congress, cannot be the acting national chairman of the party. In a suit filed by Dele Moses, Justice Florence Evresima granted the order of perpetual injunction on Friday, restraining Giadom from parading himself as a member of the National Working Committee of the APC. The order restrains Giadom from issuing, signing, or endorsing any document or correspondence to the Independent National Electoral Commission or any other body in the capacity of the national chairman or acting national chairman of the APC. The court also ruled that Giadom could not claim to be a member of the National Working Committee since he resigned from his position to contest the 2019 general election as deputy governor in Rivers. After the suspension of Adams Oshomole, the National Working Committee of the APC had named Abiola Ajimobi, who's receiving treatment for COVID-19, as its national chairman. But Giadom argues that he's the authentic acting national chairman of the APC and had secured an Abuja High Court order that that granted his request to act in that capacity for 2 weeks. The World Health Organization has declared Nigeria polio-free. The UN Health Agency disclosed this on its official Twitter handle for the Regional Office for Africa in Brazil, Congo, on Friday. Nigeria was said to have received the status after completing a documentation which was accepted by the African Regional Certification Commission for Polio Eradication. Responding to the news, Faisal Shraibu, the Executive Director and CEO of the National Primary Healthcare Development Agency, described today as a historic day for Africa, Nigeria, and the Global Polio Program. He said the feat was made possible by efforts of President Muhammadu Buhari and the financial and technological contributions of Aliko Dangote and Bill Gates. The federal government has released the sum of 4.5 billion naira to 31 federal teaching and medical centers across the country. The sums to cover hazard and inducement allowances for the month of April and May. Briefing State House correspondent in Abuja, Minister of Labour and Employment, Chris Ngige, said the money was released early morning on Friday. He also added that they briefed President Buhari on the strike embarked upon by the National Association of Resident Doctors since Monday, June 15th. Meanwhile, Minister of Health Osagie Ehanire has urged resident doctors in the country to call off their strike action, assuring them that the present government will keep to its promises. Ehanire also added that President Muhammadu Buhari has a track record of keeping his promises. According to him, the Buhari administration is the most sincere and most serious government Nigeria has ever had. The Chief Justice of Nigeria, Justice Tanko Mohammed, has sworn in Justice Monica Dongban-Mensem as the President of the Court of Appeal. The swearing-in ceremony held on Friday at the conference room of the CJN's office in Abuja, the nation's capital. Justice Mohammed asked the newly sworn-in appellate court president to discharge her duties to the court without fear or favor. He also advised her to work closely with presiding justices of the Courts of Appeal to achieve great strides in the nation's judicial system. After taking the oath of office, Justice Dongwa Mentem promised the CGN that she would contribute a quota to the growth of the nation's judiciary. Justice Dongwa Mentem replaces Justice Zainabu Okeke, who retired in March. Security risk management expert Kabiru Adamu has been reacting to the outcome of President Muhammadu Buhari's meeting with the nation's service chiefs over the rising spate of insecurity. In an exclusive interview with TV360 Nigeria, Adamu said it will take more than a public warning to see the kind of change desired in Nigeria's security architecture. He added that Buhari urging security chiefs to double up their efforts may necessarily translate into changes within the next few months.
The issuance of that warning by the National Security Advisor, for me, is a bit questionable in the sense that he has the coordination function within the national security architecture. So if there is a gap, it should have been his office that would have noticed that gap and correct the gap. When he makes such a statement, is he telling us that we should go and protect ourselves, as an example? So I think, frankly, I'm not expecting too much. I expect the government to fulfill its own part of the social contract, in other words, protect lives and property. And if any agent of the government is failing in that regard, I expect that agent of the government to be fired, or if he's not fired, to be asked why he's not meeting that responsibility. Now, based on the briefing by the National Security Advisor yesterday, we are told that part of the reason why the security agencies are not meeting the expectations is they have a deficit of equipment. The number of personnel is not enough. Most of them are stretched. And then things like that. Now, if that is the situation, how come the military, as an example, is involved in internal security operations, not its core responsibility, which is border protection? You cannot be stretched and then you are now taking responsibility that, frankly, is not your responsibility. In the case of the police, how come we're seeing police deployed to VIPs to protect them when that is not a core policing function, as it were? So until this type of shortcomings are changed before, we'll see the changes that we need.
Adamu also called for more synergy among the armed forces in finding lasting solutions to the issue of banditry and the Boko Haram insurgency.
Synergy can come at three levels. It can come at the policy level, it can come at the strategic level, and then, of course, at the operational level. Unfortunately, in all of these three levels that I mentioned, we're not seeing enough synergy, and the National Security Advisor highlighted this. If we're going to achieve synergy, it would have to be tackled at all of these three levels. So as an example, when a meeting is held at the national level, where the president is, that the National Security Council meeting, or any of the meetings that the security heads hold, that would, to an extent, would be either a strategic synergy or the policy synergy. Now, where it comes to operational synergy, I think that is where the challenge is. So you see the military carrying out an operation in Zamfara State, where all the other 27 departments that I mentioned earlier on are existing, but some of these departments are not even aware that the military is carrying out such an operation. So that is the kind of synergy going forward that we need, and I think it can only be achieved if the policy and strategic levels are also synergized.
Nigerian entrepreneur and CEO of Invictus Group, Obiwanne Okeke, also known as Invictus Obi, has pleaded guilty to the $11 million fraud charged against him. Okeke was arrested in the U.S. in 2019 and admitted to the prosecutors that he was involved in computer-based fraud between 2015 and 2019. Court documents say Okeke and his co-conspirators obtained and compiled the credentials of hundreds of victims, sent fraudulent wire transfer requests and fake invoices before the funds were then transferred overseas. The 32-year-old now faces up to 20 years in jail and would be sentenced in October. Earlier this week, the U.S. Department of State froze the assets of 6 Nigerians accused of internet fraud amounting to more than $6 million. You're still watching news now on TV360 Nigeria, still to come. The Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 warns that the virus could get worse this rainy season.
In the last 3 years, we have built a multi-purpose center, which is the envy of all in our constituency. And I can tell you that the people who are living there are already enjoying it.
Guy, do you think what this man just said is true? See, I seriously doubt. I'm sure it's one of those their silly lies.
And wait, do you know there's a way to find out if these things he's saying is true or not? This is the Construct app. It gives people like us a sure way to track implementation of constituency projects. It gives valid and verified information on location of projects, amounts allocated, amount funded, the level of job done, and even the profiles of concerned legislators. You and I can post directly on this app.
Are you serious?
This is the Go-To app if you want to know how our Commonwealth is being expanded by the government.
Wow. Let's even see if what this man said is true. Show me.
The Construct app is developed by Other Paper Nigeria with support from USAID and is available on both Google Play Store and Apple Store.
And it's true.
Of course, I told you.
On TV360, we don't just ask the questions. What is wrong with amending the Constitution the way the National Assembly members have been doing it? We seek answers.
Constitution is constituent. Our problem is not lack of laws. Our problem is lack of the willpower to implement our laws.
Answers that provide clarity.
While we negotiate, we should try to make it a point that the girls must be complete.
The clarity you need to make informed judgment so that you can make the right decision and take action. People are saying it is you politicians that are responsible for this, that you are the reason why this is happening.
All these dollars that call themselves governors in this country. I wish we had people like Tony at the National Assembly. God forbid that I go to join that panel.
TV360, providing clarity to issues.
You're welcome back. Here's a recap of some of the stories we've been bringing you this hour. Godwin Obaseki has affected the People's Democratic Party (PDP). The Edo State governor had resigned from the APC after the party's National Working Committee disqualified him from contesting in the APC governorship primaries over what they described as faulty certificates. And the drama in Edo APC continues as the Port Harcourt High Court ruled that Giadom can't act as APC chair just after an Abuja Higher Court ruled that he could act as APC chair for 2 weeks. As medical doctors in Nigeria embark on a strike action, the federal government releases 4.5 billion naira to 31 federal teaching and medical centers as payment for hazard allowance. It's a historic day for Nigeria as the global health body WHO declares Nigeria free of polio. Polio is a highly infectious viral disease that largely affects children under the age of 5 and is transmitted through contaminated water or contact with an infected person. And we also told you that Forbes 30 Under 30 honoree Obinwanne Okeke has pleaded guilty to fraud. Okeke admitted to swindling people of $11 million and he faces up to 20 years in jail. The Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 has warned that the rainy season might create a resurgence of the COVID-19 virus. The PTF chairman and secretary to the government of the Federation, Boss Mustafa, gave the warning during the task force press briefing in Abuja. Mustafa said since there could be a resurgence of COVID-19 due to the rains, Nigerians need to obey all guidelines issued by the PTF. This comes as Nigeria recorded its highest single-day COVID-19 infections on Thursday with 745 new cases. Nigeria now has 18,480 cases of COVID-19 with 6,307 persons discharged and 475 deaths. At least 50 Nigerians stranded in Pakistan due to COVID-19 pandemic have returned to Nigeria. Minister of Foreign Affairs Geoffrey Oyema announced this in a tweet, saying the aircraft conveying the evacuees departed the Islamabad International Airport around 4 p.m. on Thursday en route to the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, Abuja. Nigerians in Diaspora Commission, NIDCOM, has also said 15 nationals were repatriated from Europe on Thursday. NIDCOM said Air France flights departed Paris to London on Thursday and repatriated 15 Nigerians from France, Germany, Belgium, Holland and Estonia. In commemoration of the World Refugee Day, the World Health Organization has expressed worry over the possible spread of COVID-19 among refugees who often live in clusters and lack access to basic health facilities. Director General of the World Health Organization, Tedros Ghebreyesus, raised these concerns at a recent media briefing in Geneva on Friday. The DG added that the outbreak of the pandemic has exposed more refugees across the world to severe hardship.
Refugees are particularly at risk of COVID-19 because they often have limited access to adequate shelter, water, nutrition, sanitation, and health services. Over 80% of the world's refugees and nearly all the world's internally displaced people are hosted in low and middle-income countries. WHO is deeply concerned about the very real and present danger of widespread transmission of COVID-19 in refugee camps. Beyond the health threat posed by the virus, COVID-19 is also exposing many refugees to even more severe hardship. A report published today by the International Red Cross and Red Crescent movement shows that about 70% of refugees surveyed in Turkey reported having lost their jobs since the start of the pandemic. We have a shared duty to do everything we can to prevent, detect and respond to transmission of COVID-19 among refugee populations. Public health measures that reduce transmission of COVID-19 require strict and sustained implementation. This is difficult to achieve in refugee camps where the public health situation is weak. It's an honor to be here today with my brother, Mr. Filippo Grandi, the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees. UNHCR's primary purpose is to safeguard the rights and well-being of refugees. WHO's mission is to promote health, keep the world safe, and serve the vulnerable.
Still watching news now on TV360 Nigeria. We'll be right back to join Oyin Adekule for business stories. You're welcome back. Let's now join Oyin Adekule for the latest in business.
Thank you, Annetta, and welcome to business. Nigeria's inflation has risen to 12.40%, which is its highest figure in 2 years after recording a 0.06% increase from the previous month. The rising inflationary figure, according to the National Bureau of Statistics, is influenced by the surge in food prices. Reacting to this, the Director General of the Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Muda Yusuf, in an interview highlighted the factors driving the hike in food prices.
The increase in inflation rate was rather marginal. We are talking about 0.06% or thereabouts. And my expectation was that we will have a much higher pressure on prices. In other words, I was expecting a much higher increase in inflation. First, we know that there are two components of inflation. There is the food inflation, which we talked about now. There is also the core inflation. On the side of the core inflation is driven largely by the cost of imports. And in the last 2 months, we have seen a dramatic depreciation in the exchange rate. we have seen that costs of imports have risen significantly. So I was expecting a much higher impact of the exchange rate depreciation on the cost of imported items. So I was expecting that the core inflation should have been much higher than what was reported in May. Then with respect to food prices typically is driven by the cost of transportation, is driven by seasonality, and is driven by the productivity in the agricultural sector. So anytime we have challenges in any of these variables affecting prices, either in terms of transportation, cost of transportation has been quite high, and those who are in the agricultural sector have always complained about that. Now, recently in the last 2 or 3 months, we have travel restrictions. So the movement of goods around the country, even including food items, have been highly restricted.
Stock Market Review is up next after this break. Trading week on the NSE ended bearish as a result of profit-taking activities. And the all-share index, which opened at 25,954, shed 1,128 points to close at 24,826 basis points. Investors also shared 66 billion, about 66 billion in all throughout this week. And moving on now, a 9 naira price decline in Dangote cement stock dragged the market index down, coupled with losses in Okomu Oil, Guinness and UACN. And of course, on the gainers list, BUA Cement stole the day from Dangote Cement to lead the day's gains with a 6 naira, 6.28% increase, while Total as well as MTN Nigeria and WAPCO also made gains today. And the volume of shares, which was around 237 million on Monday, ended the week at 174.6 million. And of course, value of trade also went from 1.6 to 2 billion naira at the close of trading on Friday. And moving on to the foreign scene, FTSE closed the last day of the trading week higher after making steady gains this week. Stocks struggled to hold gains as investors weighed rising coronavirus cases in key US states. And for Nikkei, it's also a good trading day, closing in the greens at 0.55% higher in its all-share index. And that's it on business. It's back to you now, Aneta.
And let's now talk sports. Nigeria's Paralympic powerlifting champion Esther Onyema says she is devastated by the 4-year ban placed on her for allegedly violating anti-doping rules. In May, the International Paralympic Committee (IPC) banned her from participating in competitions after a prohibited substance was found in her urine sample taken after the 2019 International Para-Powerlifting event in Lagos. As a result of the ban, Onyema will not be taking part at the Paralympic Games in Tokyo next year. In an exclusive interview with TV360 Nigeria, the 38-year-old Paralympian denied any substance use, adding that she hopes to pick up from where she left when the ban elapses in 2023.
We held National Festival, the one that took place in Abuja. Then a month later, they called the international competition, hold here in Lagos. Are you getting me? If you look at it, December, January, I don't think there is any way an athlete all over the world, I'm saying it all over the world, will have any opportunity to take anything, any substance or any multivitamin because it won't work. Doing this powerlifting is my passion. I love what I do. I love it. I do it with all my heart. I don't know where they got this substance from. It's not part of me. I didn't do it. I have to find out myself. Then I went to the pharmacy to check on it. They now show me. I say, I say, wow. Me, I don't know. That is how I left. I say, well, let God have his way. If it is done by anybody, in anything in life, there is a reward for it. Whatever anybody on earth so shall he reap. They send a letter that there is a chance for me to make an appeal, which I did. Are you getting me? I did. Not even up to a week when I heard the news that this is what happened, that I am on ban for 4 years. what I have to do just to move on in life, because I know when there is life, there is hope. One thing I know, I'll never give up. I can never give up.
And in what you might describe as strange but true, zookeepers at the Campo Zoological Park in India have sentenced a monkey to solitary confinement for the rest of his life. The monkey's offense was tearing through 250 people and killing one person under the influence of alcohol. The alcoholic animal belonged to an occultist whom local authorities believed supplied his pet with a regular diet of hard liquor and possibly monkey meat. Zoologists noted that the monkey refused to eat vegetables and is addicted to alcohol. Quite an unusual event right there in India. And that's it on News Now on TV360 Nigeria. I am Anetta Felix. Thank you for watching.